Welcome, everyone. I'll get their attention, yeah. No, you're right here beside me. Oh, sorry. So welcome, everyone, to our April 24th meeting. Can somebody on the screen let us know whether you can hear me? Can you hear me? Somebody wave. Excellent. Thank you. Several waves. So I'd like to begin this meeting by recognizing with respect the school district's business is being conducted on the traditional and unceded territories of the Gitxsan, Haisla, Nisga'a, Tsimshian, and Lidel peoples. Noting that Trustee Jones, Maxim, and Sundal are attending virtually from Stewart, Terrace, and Prince George, respectively. We are honored to work with our children, their children, and privileged to live on their lands. Thank you to Hazelton Secondary School staff and students. Special thanks to the students. We had some amazing food earlier. It was great that they served us that way. To be able to conduct our regular public board meeting at your school. So thank you very much for the hospitality from your school principal, the staff, and as I mentioned, the students. We have warm welcomes for our guests. Thank you for coming tonight, and it's good to see you that way. The meeting is live streamed through the school district's YouTube channel. We're up and going. So I have a couple of announcements before we get started with the agenda. The National Day of Mourning is April 28th. This weekend. Canadians will pay tribute to workers who have died or were injured or made ill from their work. It is also a day on which to collectively review our commitment to improved health and safety in our workplaces and to prevent, as much as we possibly can, injuries, illnesses, and deaths. To mark our school district's commitment in observance of the National Day of Mourning, on April 28th, Canadian flags within the Coast Mountain School District will be lowered to half-mast on Friday, April 26th, and raised early in the morning on the 29th. I'd like to start by introducing our trustees. I'm Margaret Workham. I'm your board chairperson, and I'll go left.
I'm Ed Harrison, trustee from Terrace.
And to my right.
Hi, Karen Yonkman. I'm trustee from Kitimat.
And we'll start at the top left with Wayne.
Trustee Jones from Stewart.
Next is Mike on the screen.
Mike Maxim, trustee for Thornhill.
And Julia, you're there. There you are. Good. Julia.
Good evening. It's Julia Sundell calling in from Clately Tenay.
And Sunny.
Sunny Duncan Green, trustee for Kitimat.
Aaron, I turn it to you and your staff.
Great, thank you. So I'm Aaron Callahan is the superintendent of Coast Mountain School District. Pleasure to be here this evening. And I'm just we'll go around the room here first for people that are here in person. We'll start to my right with Carol.
Oh, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Carol Gangam. I'm the executive assistant.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rob Shibley, and I'm the Director of Facility Services for the district.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ginger Fuller, and I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the district.
We have a number of senior staff who are online, so we'll just reach out to them individually. Geraldine.
Hi, everyone. Geraldine Lawler, Director of Instruction, Graduation, and Innovation.
I'm Robert.
I'm Hupul Godo Nuwilshnisam, Robert Clifton, Director of Instruction of Indigenous Education.
Julia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia Nakaz, Director of Instruction Learner Support.
And Kieran.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kieran Path, Director of HR. Thanks.
Thanks, Kieran. And I'm just going to take a second and acknowledge a couple of our first-year teachers in Coast Mountain School District who are in the gallery this evening. So welcome to Zach Fraser and Ryan McCann, recruits that have come to us from Nova Scotia and Ontario. So it's nice to have them present locally here. Thank you.
Thank you. So a couple of other notices or things to share with you before we start our formal meeting. For our April board meeting regarding trustees' questions on reports received for information only, the process to use is that you can put forth a motion to refer the question and the issue back to committee, because most of our reports for information are discussed and dialogued at the committee level. To do that, the motion must be seconded and supported by the majority of the trustees. So we've been reviewing our codes of how we do things, and so I'm just reminding you that reports for information can be revisited with questions and looking at, but you refer it back to the committee so you can have some really informed, good dialogue happen to make things happen. Trustees will be asked for their reports at the end of the meeting, and there will be a question period for 10 minutes right at the end. The questions must pertain to the agenda and can be presented in person or emailed no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the regular board meeting. And I understand we haven't had any questions come in for that to happen. Questions or comments about personnel issues, individuals, or property acquisitions are not appropriate for public meetings. We have to be very careful and want to be very careful as to what's in camera and what's public. We do written responses to questions to the board will be provided when it's appropriate and practical to do so that way. Questions that the regular board meetings are recorded for follow-up for the board when we can follow up if we can't provide an answer at the time of the question. The next regular board meeting is Wednesday, May 22nd at 5 o'clock in Stewart. So we welcome you all to come to Stewart with us and be able to see what's happening there as well. So I thank you all for coming to the meeting, and I'd like to call the meeting to order for the April 24th meeting in Hazelton Secondary School. And we do have a quorum. And I now require on item number 3, a motion to approve the agenda. So Karen, second. Ed?
Discussion?
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I presented a document to the board and requested it be added to the agenda, and I'm wondering why it's not been accepted.
Because it was redacted in terms of not being on the public meeting.
There were no names in there.
Sorry, retracted.
Retracted, not redacted. I can't read over my shoulder here, but
What was retracted? I'm sorry, what was retracted?
I don't know, Mike. I didn't see the document myself. So we have an agenda committee that receives documents for the agenda, and none were seen. I don't remember seeing them.
I don't recall, but
I recall there was an email that was sent to the office and it said retracted on it. It was a retracted.
that was an email, but it was just said retracted on it, so we didn't know what that meant.
Okay, so Mike, your email of request, let me explain, your email of request had on the top of it retracted. So we will look into it, but it's not on the agenda for tonight.
And I'll look into it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there approval of the agenda? All in favor? Looking around, passed. Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting, the special board meeting, February 27th, 2024. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Ed?
Seconder, Julia? All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Next is 5.1, summary of the special in-camera meeting, March 8th, 2024. A motion to approve the minutes attached on page 7 to 8. Looking, Julia and Eric. All in favor? Mike, did you have a question because you're not voting on 5.1?
And your camera is muted.
You're muted, Mike. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm abstaining, not objecting.
Okay. And Mike has abstained, everybody else is in favor, so passed. Summary of the special in-camera meeting of March 15th, 2024. A motion to approve. Ed? Second? Seconder, thank you,
Julia.
Sunny. All in favor? Mike, are you voting or not, or abstaining? It's passed. You're muted, so I don't know what you.
I'm muted again. I said abstain.
Thank you. 6.1, ministry approval. It's on page 11 to 15. The ministry approval for the 2022-2023 Indigenous Education Fund carry forward. A motion to, let me get to page 11 and read the actual motion. There we go. That the board receive the Deputy Minister of Education and Childcare's correspondence granting approval pursuant to section 106.42 of the School Act for the Board of Education for Coast Mountain School District 82 to underspend its 2022-2023 school year Indigenous education targeted funds in an amount of up to $4,015,680. This is presented. I need a mover and a seconder, and the secretary treasurer can answer any questions if we need them. Can we move? Move. Karen? Second? I don't know. Ed? Okay. Okay. Any questions? See no questions? All in favor? Pass. Thank you. Okay. 6.2, proposed catchment reviews of Soo Lax Community School and Cassie Hall Elementary School on page 16. I'm going to ask the Secretary Treasurer to present this part, if you could, please.
Okay. Item 6.2, a proposed catchment review for Soo Lax Community School and Cassie Hall Elementary School. The background: at the November 21st, 2023 regular board meeting, the board approved a boundary review to Soo Lax Community School and Cassie Hall Elementary School catchment ground boundaries. Research and consultation were conducted on the proposed school catchment boundary change that would affect both Soo Lax Community School and Cassie Hall Elementary School. Soo Lax Community School enrollment is at the highest it's been in the past 5 years, approximately 360 learners, a trend that is expected to continue. In contrast, Cassie Hall Elementary School has approximately 152 learners with space to accommodate up to another 75 to 100 learners. Members of the school district senior leadership team prepared a presentation on the proposed changes and asked for feedback from parents, caregivers, school staff, rights holders, and partner groups. Feedback was requested through the school district's website, email, in-person session held at Soo Lax Community School, through a virtual Zoom meeting, and through direct communication with Kitsim-Kalim First Nation. The overwhelming majority of feedback received was about students having to change school communities, safety concerns for crossing the overpass, Highway 16, railroad tracks, as well as logistics regarding busing. With the amended legislation of Bill 40, including school of choice, the Kitsim-Kalim First Nation has chosen to currently remain with Soo Lax Community School. The following options for the board's consideration were developed from the data and feedback received. To move forward with the catchment boundary change not supported by consultation feedback. Option 2, manage school enrollment through strict management of cross-boundary applications and a firm enrollment limit based on class size and building capacity, recommended. Status quo, leaving enrollment and capacity management at the school level with cross-boundary restrictions, not feasible with the current enrollment trends.
So the recommended action, would somebody like to move that? You gonna read it?
Want me to read it?
Please.
The recommended action that the board approve option 2, recommended by senior leadership team members based on data and feedback received during the research and consultation conducted on the proposed school catchment boundary for Sewell Axe Community School and Cassie Hall Elementary.
And I have a mover for that motion. So moved by Karen, second. Ed? Discussion. Any comments, questions? Don't see any. All in favor? Pass. Thank you. Yes. We'll now move on to, there was no correspondence received, and we'll move to the superintendent's monthly report.
Hey, thank you. I would like to extend a thanks to Ginger and team for their work on the attachment proposal. And thanks for bringing that to the board this evening as I think promised a few months back. Okay, thank you, Ginger. The superintendent's report is found in the package this evening, starting on page 17, and the report itself is on pages 18 through 21. So I'm gonna hit a few highlights from the monthly report for April. Page 18, a message from the superintendent, just to like to highlight the fact that in that first page on page 18, just what an absolute pleasure it was to be a part of the community meetings that took place during the month of April in 4 different communities here in the Hazelton area, where the Gixan K-4 language curriculum development team presented on the K-4 proposal for the implementation of an immersion program here in the community. The team at each of our meetings, and I want to acknowledge Monica, who's in our audience here this evening as a major part of that team. The team was present in every one of our meetings and brought so much life and story to the curriculum and with the community members that were present. So just a real pleasure to be a part of that process. I would have to say one of my, personal and professional highlights for the year, for sure, to be a part of that experience in those 4 meetings. So thank you, Monica. Also highlighting on that first page, and I should say there's more on that on page 20. We'll get to that in a moment. But also just wanted to highlight, I think on page 18, that the international student program that has taken off this semester through the leadership of Joe Dominguez, who is the program administrator and the vice principal at Caledonia Secondary School. Things have been going really well. So I just wanted to extend, credit where credit's due for the work that's taking place there. And just to say that students are having a great experience. And that's also a program that could not be thriving right now without the support of the community. And as I look around the room here and I look on screen, I know that there are lots of host families in our communities that are making this happen for kids. It is a program that we're hoping to expand into the 24 and 25 school year. And just a thank you and looking forward to continued success with that. I'm going to flip over to page 19, and as we do in most monthly reports, we connect back to the board's strategic plan, the visionary plan of the Board of Education, and updates on the action plan through the 23-24 school year. And there are 3 goal areas within the strategic plan. So I've tried to bring just one element of each of those goal areas to the update this evening. The first is the first goal of all students realizing their full potential. So it's a little bit more information on literacy. I know we've connected with the implementation of the K-3 literacy in several monthly meetings through the year this year, but during the month of February, we were engaged in our mid-year evidence review using a tool called Acadience. There's been lots of professional learning happening with both UFly as an instructional tool, but also using this tool Acadience as a standardized tool, a diagnostic tool, but also just to check in on the progress that students are making throughout our schools. And so it is an opportunity to say, you know, in February across grades K through 3, with our very first year using UFly and using Acadience as a measuring stick, we have reported out on the percentage of students in each grade level at that mid-year benchmark that are on track or extending in their levels with reading to date. So thank you to the teachers and the schools that have been working so hard to get that off the ground this year. Again, incredibly confident in the work that's happening around that, and that the work that's happening in classrooms where this is rolling out will be leading to improved results for students. The second goal is honoring and respecting culture, diversity, and inclusion. And I think in the superintendent's report, it was really just an opportunity to highlight some of the work that happened during our student voice secondary sessions that happened largely in February and early March. This year, there were specific questions that align with the provincial anti-racism plan. And so there was some of the evidence from our in-person focus sessions with students around their responses to questions related to witnessing racism in schools and discrimination, as well as their ideas for the elimination of racism in our schools. So very insightful responses from students, and more to come in this goal area. Finally, in the third goal area, facilitating well-being across the school district, it is a chance to highlight some of the great work that's been happening with the school district's LEAD team around mental health and wellness, and their partnership with the BC Children's Hospital. And recently, I think probably going back to the month of February, where there was a wide-scale district and community consultation that took place, and some priority areas were identified, and the team continues to work in those priority areas towards the development of a plan, which we expect to be released by the end of the school year. And the priority areas have been identified as digital safety, mental health literacy, and also building relationships with students, staff, and communities. So thank you to everyone that's participated in that consultation work. So as promised a minute ago, on page 20 is a little bit of some pieces from the presentations that were made across the 4 communities around the Gitxsan Language K-4 Immersion Program. In my opinion, the lead team that made the presentation to communities really did a wonderful job at speaking to the story of Gitxsanima here in this community, and the importance of that Gitxsan language, and the importance of this program getting off the ground to a language that is identified by UNESCO as severely endangered. And I think everyone in every one of those presentations understands the opportunity that is before us to get a program off the ground to revitalize a language that is in danger of disappearing. So again, thank you to the team, and they did a wonderful job at explaining certainly some of the benefits that come to learners, families, and community from such a program taking off. So I've highlighted a few of them on page 20. Today, by the way, April 24th, was the last day for learners in this community that will be in grade kindergarten next year in the 24-25 school year, for them to express their interest in participating in that program. And as we've promised as a school district, we've promised to those families that have reached out to us by today, that by the first week of May, we'll have district will have made a decision on the feasibility and the launch of that program, and we will be reaching back out to families. And if the program is a go, we'll be reaching out to community and schools to start the heavy lifting and the hard work to get it off the ground. I guess the last thing to note on page 20 is also another extensive community engagement around student use of cell phones in schools. And this really has come from a number of angles, one of them being the provincial announcement several months back around provincially the will to have increased supports for schools around the use of cell phones for academics, but also for just the impact on learners in general. I would say this is one of our are probably one of our biggest engagements we've had is we've had over 500 students, learners, family members, staff, and community partners participate in a survey. It was largely an open text, open-ended survey. And so I think the committee members where the survey responses had been already shared with them are probably all nodding that there was extensive amounts of information that has been shared through the survey. And that information now goes back to the policy committee to review the current policy and to decide if changes are warranted. And we're nearing the end. So on page 21, we try to end with some of the highlights that have come over the last month or so on social media. It's nice to end this way because we do have so many success stories in every one of our schools, you know, despite the challenges that we also have throughout our district. But to be able to highlight a few of those stories on social media, for example, on February 28th, we have Pink Shirt Day, highlighting participation in the GICSAN immersion sessions, but also at the secondary level with Parkside and Caledonia participating with a partner, Kitsilus 5-tier, in a youth trades sampler. And also, you know, this was a photo from our first session. It was the All Our Relations working group that came together in February. In fact, just yesterday, we hosted our second meeting, and both meetings have been incredibly well received and wonderful information coming from all partners who were involved in this meeting. So just a chance to highlight some of those stories from around the district. And that's the report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So the recommended action is that the Superintendent of Schools monthly report to the regular board meeting of April 24th, 2024 be received as presented. Would someone so move? And Karen, second.
Yeah.
Julia, any questions? All in favor? Oh, wait a
no,
minute,
Mike
Mike.
has a question.
Mike, you have a question?
I'm muted, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had two questions, please. Fairly easy one, I believe. When I was looking up the information on Acadians, now I notice in your thing, it says that it is a literary diagnostic tool. But in my research, it was much more than a diagnostic tool. It was a full-blown agenda, or I don't know the proper word, but it was a full-blown teaching tool. And I'm wondering if the Acadians is going to be used to its full potential, or it's going to be limited to a diagnostic tool.
That's a great question, Mike. So we have, this is again our first few months with Acadians, and we have some training that has happened with members, teachers in all schools, being led by our district staff, including Tina McDonald. And one of the pieces I know that in conversations I've had with Tina and Geraldine, as it's under Geraldine's portfolio, is around the progress monitoring piece. And so, you know, in this report, it's identified in our early stages as its use as a diagnostic tool. But I know the real benefits of Acadians will come when it's used more robustly as a progress monitoring tool by teachers and by literacy support staff in schools, because that is more of a ongoing regular check-in to inform instruction on a regular basis. So in the early stages, we're using it as a diagnostic, but in the bigger picture, it does become, as you've indicated, it gets used more extensively at the school and classroom level.
Thank you very much for that explanation. That'll be all my questions.
Thank you. All in favor of receiving the report? I see hands everywhere passed. Thank you. So we move now on to item number 9 on our agenda, our Indigenous Education Report from Robert. Robert's online, so I don't know whether people can see him or hear from over in the audience, but go ahead, Robert.
Yes, just let me know if you can't hear me, but I'm going to do my best so I can be close to the mic. So I'd like to acknowledge that we've invested in a year of supporting our Indigenous support workers in ongoing learning. Our latest gathering in April was a 2-day training session. And so we, again, were developing capacity and confidence to learn how to support Indigenous learners with timely supports and responsive techniques that are both evidence-based and also embedded into First Peoples principles and Indigenous ways of knowing and being. We look forward to our, the iteration of growth and improvement, and that is our next steps is creating greater connectivity with school staff so that we're all pulling together for Indigenous learner success. And so, the Indigenous education for all and by all is the desired state that we want to get to, so Indigenous learners become who they were meant to be. On April 16th, both Kathy Sawchuk and I visited the Hazelton area, and Kitwanga principals and vice principals gathered, and we did a day of learning together in support of the development of their school improvement plan for the upcoming year, and to have greater intention around the Indigenous goals that they were creating for the schools. And that day was really well worth the time that we spent listening and learning together. I'd like to also extend my thanks to Aaron and Beverly and Kathy and Julia Nakars, who facilitated the All Our Relations gathering yesterday, as I was away to support family and was in transit when it was going on. I wish I could have been there, but I hear it was a very impactful day, that the momentum from everybody attending, feeling that they are contributing to this blue sky thinking, getting to the desired state, so that we're working together as partners in this very sacred and important work. I'd like to also say that we met as the Indigenous Education Graduation Advisors at the beginning of the month to look back at the year and think about the engagement that has happened in terms of supporting Indigenous learners. Next year, the title will be changing, because I think it's focused on graduation as being the measure of success. And while that's only one measure of success, I think the title of Indigenous Learner Success Advisor is more suited, as we are looking to increase our capacity to support the transitions from elementary into middle in the Terrace area and middle into high school, and in the Kitimat and Hazeltons supporting the elementary to the high school transition. I look forward, to, extending the invitation to all partners to come and witness the stories of impact. We want to celebrate the things that that are going well and shine the light on all the wonderful work that is happening. And that will be happening on June the 14th. So we're looking forward to seeing you all there. On May 8th, we are going to be hosting a gathering for elders and knowledge holders from all communities. This is going to be just the first part of the meeting, but we're looking at the feasibility of increasing the presence of elders and knowledge holders in schools beyond just the one-off role model requests that come in to support classrooms and student learning. That will continue, but we're also looking at having a calling in of any elders and knowledge holders who would like to commit to developing deep relationships with the school and being in support of sharing their knowledge and cultural wisdom with everybody, so we're all learning together. And then just finally, I just wanted to note that the Ministry of Education and Childcare released the model local education agreement along with the new policy for targeted funds that is in place for the upcoming school year, and all the details are provided. And there is also a link that can be shared so that you can review those documents. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could have a motion to receive the report for information. Can someone so move? Mike? Or sorry, Mike and Sunny? Any questions? All in favor of receipt? Pass, thank you. So if we move on to our standing committees, I pass this over to Ed.
The first order of business is the minutes of the business meeting held on April the 10th, 2024, be received for information. And those are attached, pages 26 through 27.
A seconder for Ed's motion. Thank you, Mike. All in favor? Pass, thank you.
And the section item 10.1.2 Ministry Estimated Operating Grants 2024-25, pages 28 through 35. The background is the Ministry of Education and Childcare's Resource Management Division announced on March the 15th, 2024, the 24-25 estimated operating grants for all 60 boards of education. Attached is the 2024-25 estimated operating grants, an overview of the 23-24 operating grant allocation formula, and the 2024-25 forecasted ministry operating grants summary for the Coast Mountains School District. The total school district allocations are based on the projected enrollments provided by the boards of education for the 24-25 school year and generate in provincial preliminary operating grants of $7.079 billion. The total 2024-25 operating grant of $7.079 billion includes additional funding for labor settlements with teachers and support staff and wage lifts for non-educator exempt positions, which have been added by increasing the funding rates. Operating grants will be recalculated in the fall of 2024 after September 29th, 2024 enrollment is confirmed. The operating grant allocation will again be adjusted subsequent to the February and May 2025 continuing education and online learning enrollment counts. Funding will also be adjusted in February 2025 for any growth in inclusive education enrollment. The Business Committee reviewed the Ministry Estimated Operating Grants 2024-25 announcement at its April the 10th, 2024 meeting and forwards to the board for information. The recommended action is that the board receive the Ministry of Education's Estimated Operating Grants 2024-25 announcement as presented for information.
So moved by Ed, a seconder. Thank you, Mike. All in favor of receipt for information? Pass, thank you.
The third item, 10.1.3. The ministry responds to the annual 5-year capital plan submission for 2024-25 and capital bylaw number 2024/25 CPSD 8201. The background is the reference the attached letter dated March 15th, 2024 from the Ministry of Education and the Child Care's Capital Management Plan, Resource Management Division, in response to the board's annual 5-year capital plan submission for the 25 major and minor capital programs reviewed and adopted at the June 14th, 2023 regular board meeting. The ministry reviewed all the 5-year capital plan submissions across the participating 60 school districts. Give me 1 second here. To determine priorities for available capital funding while following the ministry's programs. As outlined in the ministry letter, Coast Mountain School District will receive funding support for minor capital projects under the School Enhancement Program, SEP, Carbon Neutral Capital Program, CNCP, and Food Infrastructure Program, FIP. Noting that the design process, tender, and construction of these projects must be completed by March 31st, 2025. The ministry also instructed boards of education to adopt a single capital bylaw for its approved 2024-25 5-year capital plan as attached. In accordance with Section 143 of the School Act to allow the school district to access the ministry capital portion and to receive the certificates of approval. The business committee reviewed the aforementioned ministry response and capital bylaw requirement at its April 10th, 2024 meeting and brings forward to the board for the bylaw adoption. The recommended action is first, that the capital bylaw 2024-25 CP SD 8201 capital plan 24-25 be read a first time on the 24th day of April 2024. That reading has occurred. That the bylaw, sorry.
So we need a seconder.
A seconder after Ed's motion. Mike? All in favor? Pass. Thank you.
Okay, the second part, that the capital bylaw number 24-25 CP SD 8201 capital plan 2024-25 be read a second time the 24th day of April 2024.
So moved by Ed, a seconder. Mike, thank you. All in favor? Looking for hands. All passed. Thank you.
All right, we can proceed then to the third reading, that the capital bylaw plan number 2020.
No, we need unanimous consent. I need to ask for unanimous consent from the board of the trustees to proceed to the third reading. So if ever, is there unanimous consent? Mike, Sunny, Julia, unanimous consent was obtained. Thank you. Now you can read it. Thanks. Sorry, Ed.
The capital bylaw number 2024-25 CPSD 8201 capital plan 24-25 be read a third time, passed and adopted the 24th day of April 2024.
So moved by Ed, a seconder. Seconder, Wayne, thank you. All in favor? Pass. Thank you. Thank you for the business committee and Ginger for bringing things forward. And we now move to the education committee report on page 41.
Thank you. The education committee meeting was held April 10th in person in Terrace at the district office. You can find the the meeting minutes on pages 41 to 63 in your package. But the recommended action, I'd like to present these minutes to be received for information.
So moved by Karen, a seconder, please. Mike. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. We'll now move to the there was no new business to report. And the trustees' reports are now next in 12.1. So I've submitted my board chair report for this month. It was spring break, as everybody knows. But there was still lots of business, going on through it. One of the highlights was, attending the Kitsilus 5-tier, system, K5T, career, fair, as well as their opening of their new, plan that they, acquired that way. And during spring break, it was great. And I was really impressed by the number of students and people who went through a trades fair type of thing during spring break. So it's certainly a needed, event. And I appreciate the staff, that were there, to be able to share with our students. And I was thrilled. I don't know how Karen feels because she was with me. I was thrilled to hear from some of our students walking, through and came and shared how the trade school and the education was so important to them and valuable. It was really heartwarming to hear that. Trustees will have been just back. I only got back yesterday from the BCSTA annual general meetings in Vancouver, where Julia and Karen, with administrative support, worked through 40 motions related to provincial leadership and advocacy in the province. So thank you for attending all of the meeting. I could only attend part, and pushing forward so that we can keep lobbying our government, advocate for what we need in our school district. And then on May 11th, coming up, we will have a BCSTA leadership session in the north. And thank you to our administrative staff, or actually thank you to Carol, who's assisting us to be able to host all of our regional trustee partners, and have this education session happening. So I submit this report for information, and I welcome any questions if there's any. Okay, move to receive my report. Karen, second. Thank you, Ed. All in favor? Passed. Thank you. Now, trustee reports. Who would like to share anything with us there? Did we lose? Oh, we've lost Wayne. Okay, holding everything. Sunny's hand is up. Oh, and yeah, let's start with Sunny.
Hi, everyone. So I unfortunately did not attend the BCSTA annual general meeting, but I also did have the pleasure of attending the 2024 Inspire Awards in Ottawa. So if no one knows what that is, it is actually the former National Aboriginal Achievement Award, which is one of the highest honors an Indigenous person can receive in the country. It's like by Indigenous for Indigenous excellency. So it was a great honor to see that in person. And also Eden Robinson, if none of you have heard of her, which I'm sure some of you have, she's part of the curriculum as well too, received the Arts Award for Inspire. So, and I also had the pleasure of presenting her Inspire pin to her the night before the big awards night. So that was a great achievement, and congratulations to Eden Robinson on her achievement. And that's all I have to report for now.
Thank you. Well, yeah, very proud of seeing you go there, and thank you for sharing that. Yes. Mike, you had some comments?
Yeah, I did. Started out getting some feedback from some people that viewed last month or previous month's meeting, and they described a significant lag between the live and what we're experiencing, which seems to be quite good. And what they were experiencing, and they were saying that there was a significant lag and they weren't able to ask questions or respond. And doesn't seem to be anybody here tonight. So just for information. I also I had meetings with the principals of the three. I don't know if they're all Christian, but the two of the principals of the Centennials Christian School, etc. And I didn't know, but probably you do. They receive about 50%. They receive 50% of the funding per student that we do. The other significant thing was that they require the parents to sign a covenant with them that they are in a partnership for their children's education. And honestly, the people in those schools seemed quite happy. There were an awful lot of smiling faces. Let's see. Okay. Oh, and then I went down to the BCSTA School Trustees Association, attended the two presentations by Dr. Jordan, and his last name slips my mind again. But I did speak to his presentation last November, probably at the December meeting, I'm not sure. But once again, it was superb. Part one was legit information that trustees use to perform their duties. He was stressing the point that we represent our communities on at least 2 occasions, but he went through how to find and analyze the raw data that the Ministry of Education provides on their websites. And then in phase 2, like the second part of his 2 presentations, it really was more information gathering for him, as he was gauging our understanding of what we think that our role is. So I'm expecting and you know, the people that introduced him kept calling him a superstar, because apparently he received more positive feedback than like anybody. So I'm quite hopeful that he's going to be back for the next Trustee Academy, and this is a guy who loves to teach. Boy, he's quite enthusiastic, very thorough, and there's so much information. I just couldn't follow it all. It was just too much. But it was all valuable, and that is the end of my. One other thing, I'll touch on the document that I was trying to get on the agenda, and it is it's the beginning. Am I out of time?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
All right, I'll leave it for another day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other trustees wish to speak? Ed?
I had the privilege of being in Kitwanga Elementary for a little while today, and a quick tour, and enjoyed it. But what struck me was that the school's much lighter, and there was a lot of new white paint that brightened it completely up. I see Rob smiling, but it really was quite a difference over when I was last there, which was about 6 years ago. So I'm really pleased with that.
Nice, thank you. Any other comments, or can I have a motion for adjournment? Yeah, Karen so moved to adjourn. Julia second. Mike agreed. We're adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.